At the end of 2024, I was feeling burnt out. I just left the longest relationship of my life. I'd moved everything I owned to a new city. I'd traveled, I'd worked abroad, and I'd bought my first apartment. Life and work was feeling stressful. And however I felt, my phone was always right there with the promise of meaning just a scroll away. But instead of making me feel entertained, delighted, and connected, my phone was making me feel anxious, time poor, and numb. So I made a radical change. I swapped this, my Galaxy Z Fold 5, for this, the M1 by the Minimal Company. It promises to be the sweet spot between a dumb phone and a smartphone, curbing doom scrolling, but keeping you connected in a world that can increasingly feel like you have to have a smartphone to navigate it. But can the M1 really deliver on this? Can it be distraction-free whilst practical? After a year, I think I have the answer, at least for me. The M1 is a consciously different approach to a phone. Spec-wise, sure, it shares a lot with mid-range smartphones. It runs Android, it has NFC, dual SIM cards, wireless charging, Bluetooth, USB-C, a rear and front camera, and the power button even hides a fingerprint scanner. What really sets it apart is the 4.3-inch 400 by 800 pixel Eink screen. It's all plastic construction, and of course, it's hardware keyboard. And as a little bonus, it even has a headphone jack. This screen has entirely changed how I interact with my phone. It makes colorful feeds look drab and uninteresting, videos look unenticing, and animations are slow and clinky. And that's because this isn't just an e-ink screen, it's black and white and it has a super low refresh rate. This was initially a shock to the system. It was frustrating, it was different, but it was remarkable just how quickly I got used to it, and how after that, I began to feel the benefits of using a screen that doesn't feel like it's designed to suck you in. On the Fold 5, I found myself easily falling into scrolling or getting distracted. I'd pick it up to do one thing and then find myself 30 minutes later doing something completely different. That just doesn't happen on a screen like this. I found myself spending far more time reading, messaging friends, calling family members, or shock horror just putting down my phone and doing something else. So let's talk more about using this day to day. The screen on this, as I said, is terrible for a lot of things, but it is brilliant for reading. In fact, I would call this the perfect one-hand Kindle. The backlight keeps things comfortable in sun or shade, and the super lightweight body makes it very one-handable. On the side of the phone is a refresh button to remove any ghosting, and you can also hold it down to access screen brightness and temperature. You can also adjust the keyboard backlight, and there's this mode that lets you boost or slow the refresh rate depending on the kind of content that you're viewing. You can use this to make videos look a little bit better at the cost of making the overall quality worse. There's also like a hybrid mode which flicks between the two, but I tend to just leave it in the slow mode unless I know I really have to watch a video, in which case I'll put it into the fast mode, watch the video, and then turn it back to the normal mode. Videos do sort of technically work. You can use them if you need to follow along for something, if you want to do a video call, and I do still use apps on here that have video content in them. I just find myself doing the thing I intended and just not getting sucked in the same way that I might with a colorful AMOLED screen. It's a note-taking and messaging powerhouse with a keyboard that feels incredibly satisfying to use. The travel and the feedback of the keys is really great, and writing on the M1, whether taking notes, journaling, emailing, or connecting with friends and family, feels intentional and satisfying. I have had a few moments where the Alt or Shift key seem to miss a press, but that could be human error, and it has felt like it's become less frequent as they've updated the software over the course of the year. I'm also quite impressed with the longevity of the keys. After not treating this at all kindly for a full year, there's nothing crunchy, nothing's broken. I don't feel like the keys are changing. I feel pretty confident this is going to continue to be a really good typing experience. Although it is worth noting, if you get the white one, you will start to see stuff around the keys and you will need to clean it every so often. I was also really surprised by just how functional this Eink screen still manages to be. It has all the flexibility of Android with custom launchers and every app you can think of via the Play Store. It provides all the core connectivity, utility, and productivity that I need from my little pocket-sized computer. In fact, I've been surprised how well pretty much all the apps I need to use work on this phone. Kindle, music, audiobooks, FM radio, note-taking across any writing platform, maps for walking around cities. You can even use Google Maps in the car as a sat-nav, and the experience is pretty decent. Call quality is really good, and you can use any and all messaging options. All my banking apps, including Monzo, work really well. I can use NFC to pay for stuff. I can use it for Uber, flight and train tickets, email, gigs and event ticketing, scanning QR codes to access menus. I use the NHS app as I live in the UK. All my gym and bouldering apps, whilst not looking sexy, work totally fine. And you can even use it to hotspot to other devices. So if you do need a color screen, you can attach a tablet or another phone to your SIM card on this and get the job done. All of this to say, there is very rarely anything that this phone cannot functionally do. It might just take a little bit longer to do it. And this is because the M1 is intentionally more annoying to use. I'm saying as a positive, which might sound weird, but I feel like we've over-indexed into convenience. We've ironed out all the friction from smartphones and apps. And all of this in the name of user experience, but often what that means is we use products every day that are designed to be as sticky and addictive as possible, easy to get into and hard to get out of. And the M1 is the opposite, and this feels kind of radical in 2026. It asks you to consider the idea that it might be better to spend 30 more seconds to order an Uber than it is to spend 30 minutes doom scrolling on Instagram. It reminds me of a time when I think the world was more optimistic about consumer tech, before crypto, before AI, when it felt like these tools were being designed to help us connect and navigate the world on our own terms. Using the M1 is also just really fun. It makes me nostalgic for my 3DS. I love listening to music on this using the 3.5mm headphone jack with plugged in headphones like it's 2012. There's something really charming about it, and that's something that's kind of hard to get across in a video. It makes me feel like I'm looking backwards and forwards at the same time. If you like the idea of taking back control with your relationship with your phone, I really do think you could get a lot out of trying something like the M1. That being said, it isn't perfect. There is a charm to shooting photos on the M1. You can barely see the preview image, and viewing the photo later on a color screen, because yes, it does still shoot in color, feels a little bit like developing a film, which is very cool. That being said, there is no getting around the fact that the camera on this is pretty lackluster and pretty inconsistent. Outside of perfect lighting conditions, the camera struggles to focus. If you zoom in, photos quickly become low poly and have this almost AI painted quality to them. And the video quality is also pretty inexcusably bad, particularly if the lighting is anything suboptimal. I am very happy with a pared back esoteric shooting experience, particularly on an Eink phone. But something like this, which is the Big Me High Break Pro, manages to deliver this kind of fun shooting style whilst having a far more consistent and high quality camera, and I really wish the camera in this was on the M1. As it stands, I know if I'm going to be taking a lot of photos or any videos, I just bring a standalone camera or my Z Fold 5 as a backup. The design of the M1 is really unique and it gets a lot of attention. If I'm out and about, to the irritation of all of my friends and family, people always ask what this is. They ask if it's a calculator, they ask if it's a Kindle. It just stands out amongst the crowd. Being fully plastic, it's really, really light, which makes it really easy to carry, but there is no getting around the fact that plastic is soft and dense, and the similarly plastic Eink screen is pretty prone to picking up nicks. You can solve both of these issues with a case and a screen protector, but if minimal makes an M2, I'd love to see a design that uses more durable materials whilst maintaining their unique aesthetic language. It is rated to IP54, so it can handle dust and the odd splash of water, but a higher rating would also bring extra peace of mind. That being said, it is worth repeating that the keyboard does still feel robust, and after a year of use, I have no worries that it will break or stop working. The only damage that I've managed to do to it was denting a key when I accidentally dropped another phone on top of it, which was entirely my fault.
Editing Steve here. I realised I didn't mention the battery life. It's pretty good. I get anywhere from a day and a half to 2 days depending on my usage, and this is also what it looks like filming on the minimal phone using the front-facing camera, and this should hopefully also give you an idea of the microphone quality.
Performance-wise, it is a little bit slower than other smartphones. I've got the 6GB version. I think there's also an 8GB version as well. And this slight slowness is kind of amplified because of the slow screen refresh rate. Honestly though, this kind of feels like part of the point. It doesn't need to be blisteringly fast. It just gets the job done and doesn't try to entice you with slick animations or delightfully smooth scrolling. Whilst the phone has got a lot more stable over the last year, I still get the occasional issue. When it is particularly cold, I sometimes get the phone turning off and then boot looping, which is obviously quite scary because you can't use it whilst it's doing that, and it sometimes does it for upwards of 15 minutes. This has only been maybe 4 or 5 times over the year, but it's 4 or 5 times more than I would like. And rarely, but still enough to mention, an app occasionally freezes out for a couple of seconds or just completely crashes out. Nothing completely game breaking, and this does happen on other phones, but I think because the minimal phone already has more friction, it's kind of more annoying when something like that happens, so I think it is worth mentioning. Call quality does sound great, but occasionally when I move between cities, it somehow loses access to the 4G tower and I need to flick airplane mode on and off to get it to reconnect. Again, it's not all the time, it's not the end of the world, but it is worth mentioning because it can be a little bit frustrating. It also does this weird thing where it'll occasionally just light up for no reason, which is obviously quite distracting and ironic considering this is supposed to be a distraction-free device. These are all things I am still happy to live with, but stability improvements are always welcome. So I've talked for a long time about what this phone can do. Let's talk a little bit about what it can't do. Looking at photos is kind of okay, but even then, if people are sending me a lot of content in like a group chat or something, I tend to view those things later on Google Photos or WhatsApp on the web. It is also obviously terrible for looking at social media and for doing things like gaming, but that's kind of entirely the point of this. It's meant that I've started to offload activities like gaming, shopping, editing photos to other devices, and it has made these activities feel a little bit more meaningful. I now really enjoy sitting down with the intention to game on my 3DS. Instead of getting distracted on my phone and ending up doing something else, I can play this for 25 minutes, feel totally relaxed, put it down and then go and do something else. So after a year of using this, would I recommend that you use the M1 as your primary phone? I think absolutely for the right person. If you're someone who really wants to disconnect and change how you use your phone, I think this is the perfect sweet spot between a smartphone and a dumb phone. If you are looking for the Eink smartphone experience, I would definitely recommend checking out the Boox Palmer line as well as the Bigme Highbrake Pro. I'll be doing a review on the Pro soon, and that really does feel like a Eink enabled smartphone. This feels like an incredibly smart dumb phone. I genuinely feel more zen using this as my phone, and I actually feel more connected to the world around me. I also feel genuinely excited and optimistic about the direction of tech again. This is something I haven't really felt with a phone for a long time. It isn't for everyone, and it will definitely frustrate some people. But if you want to try something totally different that's going to make you kind of reconsider your relationship with your phone and technology, I think you'd really enjoy using the M1. I think it's also worth me mentioning that there have been a lot of reports online of people having pretty negative experiences with Minimal's customer service. I don't know if that's got better or worse over the last year, but I know that some people were getting frustrated that they backed the device way back when, and the shipping date was just continuously delayed. I will say I didn't receive this device for a review. I bought it with my own money and it shipped on time, and I haven't had any issues. But if you are worried about that, then do check out some subreddits that I'll link in the description, which talk more about this part of the experience. I do think it's worth giving Minimal a little bit of slack. They're a very small company. It's so rare for a small company to actually create a phone and ship it. But if you want to have the full picture and kind of know what you're getting into before you get the phone, I feel like I have to mention it because it does come up when you Google it. If you have any more questions about what using this day to day has been like, let me know in the comments down below and I will do my best to answer them. Peace.